Hello, Rising Phoenix family. Trevor Master Olds here with another conversation from the hearth. Master Olds, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about always doing your best, no matter what. It's something that seems pretty obvious, but sometimes we forget, even myself, that I always have to do my best. But when we do our best every single time, we establish a culture within ourselves, a personal identity, to always do our best, which really helps prevent us from doing anything but our best.
Yeah. It's kind of like building habits. They always say we're creatures of habit. You build a habit of pushing yourself, of doing your best, and that helps let you rebound when you do trip and fall.
So those that do always do their best tend to get ahead of the pack. Everyone's moving at different speeds, but relative to each other, they're all pretty much moving very close. And if you just can get out a little bit ahead of everyone else, you can make a big impact. So by always trying 100% every single time, you're going to get ahead of that person next to you that's trying like 98% every single time.
You were saying a little bit earlier about there's like a little bit of a difference in that there's some students that you see who every time you ask them to do 20 push-ups, they do 21. I won't say it for you. You want to?
Well, that's something I always tell my students. If I tell you to do 10 push-ups, why not do 11? Or 20, do 21, because then you're always going to be the best on the floor. And always pushing yourself to do just a little bit more than you thought you could do. A lot of times when I'm doing my own home training, I don't actually set a number of push-ups or sit-ups. I just say, I'm going to do push-ups until I can't do any more. Or I'm going to do sit-ups until I can't do any more. Because it's funny, when I say I'm going to do like 50 push-ups, the last push-up always feels hard.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's 50 or it's 60 or it's 40 or whatever it might be, it's always like the last lap that's always the most difficult. Mm-hmm. So I find that if I don't really set an end point for myself, I'll push myself a lot further than I would have ordinarily. You were saying that, what were you saying, Trevor?
I was kind of talking about about when I was younger, and still a little bit to this day, I would do a lot of things because of the story that it would create. So I would say, I want to be the kind of person who does this grand dramatic gesture, or who does this kind of ridiculous thing. And there's a lot that is egotistical, narcissistic about that, in the fact that you're like, oh, I'm the star of my own narrative, and who would have guessed an actor is a bit dramatic. But the one thing that I will say that was really fantastic, I have some stories if we want to get into those about kind of those ridiculous things.
Can I stop you before you get too far into those stories? Is that where you're going?
I was just going to wrap that up, but go ahead.
One thing I want to talk about is that in the world that we live in, it's very performative. Especially with Facebook, I see a lot of people putting up posts that seem almost manicured. I started putting up some videos on our channel to try to inspire the students to train, and already I sort of feel, oh God, like I'm just like showing off that I'm training every day, and I can see how that can really rule your life, rule your mind and your headspace, and you're never gonna really develop true confidence if you rely on other people's approval for you to be confident. The one person that you should be trying to impress is yourself. So don't train hard because you see the master instructor looking at you, or you see an instructor looking at you. Train hard because you want to be better than you were the day before. You want to push yourself to be the best that you can be. It doesn't matter who is watching you. And if you feel like you can't do it for yourself to prove to yourself that you can.
Oh, there's a great quote that I'm thinking of, and I don't know if it's Lao Tzu. It's an Eastern philosopher, and I don't want to misquote it. Let me see if I can pull it up, because I think it's actually really perfect.
Okay. While you're doing that, I want to talk a little bit about what you were about to get into, which is, in the Olds family, we've always made a tradition of taking it like a step further. So, don't just do your best. Do what is difficult, what is really challenging, to challenge yourself, to see, how tough you really are. So, we have a lot of stories like this.
Well, I always phrased it for myself as, if you're given a variety of paths that you can take the path of most resistance.
Yeah.
Because if you do that every single time, that's just going to make it so much easier when you have to do something normal. And you're like, oh, I get to do this the normal way.
Like
I'm used to taking the most hardest way there possible.
Yeah. It's like when I learned to use do a bow drill fire, which is, this is kind of random, guys, but, learn how to make a fire with a bow drill, which is a Native American way or primitive way of making fire.
What I always say is, if you've ever seen Castaway, Tom Hanks, with the 2 sticks, that's not a fire drill. That's a fire plow. Different, but same kind of thing.
The eyes are glazing. But anyway, I remember my instructor came out there and I had a green stick, and it was like the most impossible thing to do to light the fire with. And I actually got it, and he's like, you're really challenging yourself to do what's the most difficult thing. But anyway, we have a lot of stories like this. I remember when you were in high school, you used to carry this massive sack, that had every single book. It was not designed to hold more than like 1 or 2 books.
To clarify, this is like a messenger satchel, right? Yeah. It's meant to like carry a laptop. And maybe a notebook.
But he would carry basically every single book in his locker, in his
Well, everyone said, like, oh, you can't carry all your textbooks with you. You gotta just take one to your class.
Well, why not get in that extra training? Push yourself to get that weight training, that resistance training, right?
Well, I remember it ended up being kind of an issue because I had one, it goes diagonally across, and this thing, it looked like a crate. It didn't look like a bag. It was, this huge cube on the side of me. And he ended up it was so heavy because it was all my science textbooks and stuff that I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a hunchback here in a year because it's just turning me that one way. So I ended up getting a second one, strapping it the other way. So I had the X straps, and I must have looked like a pack mule or something, just trundling down the high school. I was super cool, guys.
He ended up being pretty cool in high school, but it took him a while.
No.
Realize the genius.
It was me taking the path of most resistance. I had to be the goofiest person in the school, and then eventually become student body president. I just had to make it as hard as possible to make the reward the most satisfying. I do have that quote from earlier, but we have moved a little bit past it.
Oh yeah, let's bring it
So
up.
you were saying we're kind of performative, and if you end up doing things for other people, it's not going to have the best result.
Yeah.
So the quote, I pulled it up. It was Lao Tzu. I didn't just pull any random Asian philosopher.
Yeah.
Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. I think it's a really nice quote. You have to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
But anyway, so...
Yeah, so, I'm just thinking of all these stories we have. You're just trying to challenge ourselves to do, and we probably should make a disclaimer. Kids, I don't want you to go and do a lot of things that we did because you might kill yourself.
It's kind of a miracle we all survived.
But, but really, challenge yourself. But anyway, we...
well, it's also how you learn your limits, You do it by degrees and...
So I remember, I used to wait for the bus every day without a jacket on through the winter, to make, my... I tried to control my mind to be as...
Also, to clarify, we were in Wisconsin at the time, which... The thing that... for local Texans, you may not be able to appreciate this. In Wisconsin, we didn't have snow days. We had cold days. It was so cold that kids waiting outside for the bus were in danger of getting frostbite. So we had cold days. It was so cold that you would actually cancel school.
Kids, don't do this one. We're going to get in big trouble. But and then, I remember when I was in college, one of my friends, I think I maybe even provoked him to challenge me to do this, but I said, do you think I can go the whole winter without wearing shoes? And he's like, no. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And so I went the whole winter without wearing shoes. I would run to class, and I was kind of I was way out in the country, on a country campus. called West Virginia Wesleyan. I was so far to class, especially without shoes on, but I would run as fast as I could. And that's another thing I would always do. I'd always run to class.
It's funny because I did the exact same thing.
When you can run and you can get exercise, right? So always running to classes, always walking on my toes if I was walking.
Also, if it's freezing cold and you are wearing a t-shirt and shorts, you want to run, and you want to run fast because that's going to keep you warm,
right?
Yeah.
No, but I went the whole winter without wearing shoes, and I remember right before the end of it, maybe it was kind of in the middle of it, but I didn't end up using them. But anyway, my teacher bought me a pair of really nice Reeboks because he thought I was too poor to buy a pair of shoes, and it was the nicest, sweetest thing that any teacher's ever done for me, and I almost started crying. I was like, sir, no, it's a challenge.
I'm just trying to challenge
myself. And he just looked at me like I was totally nuts. But anyway, those shoes, I cherished them for many, many years because it was just such a sweet thing for him to do. But yeah, you got to push yourself, guys. We got some crazy stories of.
But it kind of what we're circling back to is that it's not. Yeah, it creates fun stories, which are great to tell people. But the reason you want to do it is for yourself, not to impress other people.
Don't post this on Facebook. You don't really need to. I think fun stories around the dinner table with your family and close friends around a campfire or whatever. Those are great, and I love telling stories. I think we've gotten away from storytelling, which is something that's really important for us. But I don't think it's something that you should need to post on Facebook to kind of because it's really you're putting too much of yourself in the hands of other people and what they think about you. Be proud of yourself for what you do. Trust yourself.
And it's not like I think there is a kind of what's the word I'm looking for. Insecurity in that if you're doing something really cool, that's the only time you're ever going to do something really cool. So you have to tell people about it. But if you're just always doing cool, hardcore stuff, people will notice.
Yeah.
And it's not about people noticing, it's about the effect that it has on you.
Yeah. One of the problems if you worry too much about like other people's opinion of yourself is like one of the things I see all the time in martial arts is what I call the black belt complex. And basically people start getting some kind of certification on their belt and they sort of check out on sparring and doing things that are going to challenge them to make them vulnerable because they're worried too much about what other people think. And if you do that, it's going to rule your life. So you got to make yourself vulnerable. You got to put yourself out there. That's going to make you strong. Taking off the glove and actually touching the rough stick, that's what makes your hand tough, We're getting a little off topic here, but, always do your best, always push yourself to try your hardest. Got any more thoughts on this one, Trevor?
I think
any more stories?
I have more stories, but I don't want to overload. I think that's pretty good for the topic.
Yeah. We want to hear your guys' thoughts. Post your comments below. And until next time, keep training hard. We want to see you on the mats for life.